So, a lot of conflict goes on that whoever came to Bharat got their hands on the language and they translated their own versions. So, if we can tell our audience where to get the correct translations of Sanskrit from, or do you believe that it should be translated, or how do you look at this entire understanding Sanskrit thing?
There are a number of translations today. There's a lot of internet translations available. There are a lot of YouTube channels available and all that. And then I started learning the Gita a few years ago. Then I realized that whatever I learn is somebody else's interpretation in a different language. I'm basically from Kerala, so I speak Malayalam. So I started reading Malayalam Gita Vivartanams or Paribhasha or translations, and then English from Swami Chinmayananda and several other scholars. And then I realized it is all their interpretation of the language. So the language in which Bhagavan, Lord Krishna, narrated the Bhagavad Gita to his student Arjuna is Sanskrit. So why not learn the language? It's a laborious process. It is going to take time.
Right.
But let me get into that to understand the language itself so that I can do my own translation and I don't need to depend on translations which are already available. So that's the journey that I have taken myself into. And that's a journey that a lot of us in my place in Powai, in Mumbai, we are doing. So we have a program called the Sahasra Mukheshu Samskrit. So it started with a few of the IIT boys and me, and we decided that we will have a program called the Shata Mukheshu Samskritam. 100 people in Powai speaking Sanskritam as a Vyavahara Bhasha.
Wow.
Yada
Okay.
Vayam Idanim Yatha Vayam Angalaya Bhashayam Sampashanam Idanim Kurmaha Tadrisham Vayam Samskritena Abhi Sampashanam Kartum Shaknumaha. So we will be able to speak in Sanskritam. So we started this program, and then in a matter of 1 year, we have already achieved 150 plus people in Powai. Wow. A significant number of that come from IIT Bombay who can speak Sanskrit. I would not say that all of us are speaking at very scholarly levels, but we can speak Sarala Sanskrit. And then we decided that by 2024 end, we should have 1,000 people speaking Sanskritam in Powai. So that's what we've understood. So speaking is the first thing. So you need to speak, you need to listen first, you need to speak, then you need to read, and then you need to write. So those are the 4 steps, right? So we are right now in this step, around 1,000 of us in Powai. As of now, 500 of us are there in 2023. We are trying to connect to people and make them to learn Sanskritam. So the Nonformal Center for Sanskrit Education, IIT Bombay, plays a major role in that. Plus, of course, there are other sansthaas like Samskrita Bharati, which is doing a great work in terms of connecting to the young students and teaching them Devavani, it's called. Okay. They're running a program in the schools. Plus there is Girvana Pradishta, which is by Chitrapur Mutt in Karnataka. So they're conducting online courses. So the good thing is there are a lot of online courses available right now. And then we are trying to connect to Vishwa Samskrita Pradishtanam in Kerala, Sharada Gurukulam in Kerala. So a lot of our students are learning Sanskrit at various levels, starting from the Aksharamala to basic conversation, to higher levels of conversation, and then to learning textbooks like Gita and Purana, Narayani and Bhagavatam, etc. Plus, of course, a lot of students in IIT Bombay who are also trying to understand the technology aspects of Sanskrit.
Okay, great. So, since we're talking so much about Sanskrit, the shlokas and everything, any particular shlokas that you really like, or if you can tell our audience some shlokas of Sanskrit?
Okay. So, it's like this. We talked about the magic of Sanskrit.
Yeah.
And it's a mathematical language. It's a rhythmic language. And there are thousands of shlokas. Okay. I myself, as I said, it's a 4-year journey. And I'm learning. But as I say this, I always try to compare with the language that I know, which is English. So in English, we have this very famous line which says, "Able was I ere I saw Elba," which is what Napoleon, when he was imprisoned in an island called Elba. So Elba is the name of an island, where he talks about this, that I was able, means before. It's not modern English. It's the archaic, it's the old English. Okay. Able was I ere I saw Elba. And when you read it from left to right and right to left, the meaning is the same. The sense is the same. Okay. And we call it palindrome in English. Okay. And there are a few palindromes in English. Some of them are like, was it a cat I saw. So when you read it from left to right, the meaning is the same, the sense is the same. Left. Rotator, when you read it left to right. Deed, tit, tat, Malayalam, the name of the language written in English, reads same from left to right. But this palindrome thing is exciting for the student. For the first time he understands a palindrome. But after a while, these palindromes become very boring. It's like there is this saying that Adam meets Eve the first time, the biblical story, and then it says, Madam, I am Adam. And then you can read from right to left, left to right. The meaning is the same, but it becomes boring after a while. This is great. So there is something called, there are so many thousands and millions of palindromes in Sanskrit.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to exaggerate it. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of palindromes. And it's much more magical in the sense that there's a 14th century poet who wrote something like 50 shlokas.
Okay.
The 50 shlokas, the poet's name is Divisuya Surya Pandita.
Okay.
So he wrote this poem with 50 shlokas in it. And each shloka is a couplet.
Okay.
So the first line reads from left to right.
Okay.
Tambhu Suta Mukti Mudarahasam Vande Yato Bhavya Bhavam Dayashri. Tambhu Suta Mukti Mudarahasam Vande Yato Bhavya Bhavam Dayashri. The first line. This means, now you read it exactly on the from right to left.
Okay.
So that reads, Shri Yadavam Bhavya Bhatoya Devam Samharada Mukti Muta Subhutam. This is exactly the first line read in the reverse order.
Okay.
And the beauty of this, the first line is about Rama.
Okay.
And the second line is about Lord Krishna. The first line says, Mukti Tam Bhusuta. Bhusuta is Sita.
Okay.
So I adore and I pray to Lord Rama, who got Bhusuta from captivity of Ravan. And the second line is about Samharada Mukti Muta Subhutam, which is about Putana. Putana comes to kill Lord Krishna, and the Lord himself kills her, but she gets moksham because she got killed by the Lord. The first line is about Rama, the second line is about Krishna, and it is not just one couplet. He has written 50 such couplets. This is a 14th century book called Rama Krishna Viloma Kavyam. So Viloma Kavyam is this a system in which the first line and second line have meanings, but you can read from left to right and right to left. And there are thousands of such Viloma Kavyams. So I'm not talking about just one rotator or one able was I, here I saw Elba. There are so many like that. So this is called Rama Krishna Viloma Kavyam. And there are 50 such stanzas, 50 such couplets in the same book. Similarly, in the 17th century, there was another poet who wrote what is called Raghavendra Yadaviyam, which is around 30-35 shlokas. And it is all on the internet, you can Google it yourself. Raghavendra Yadaviyam is again, the first line is about Raghavendra, Rama, and the second line is about Yadaviyam, Krishna. And there are several such poems. And then so I thought, this is wow, man, this is fantastic. This is fantabulous. But then in Sanskrit poetry, when I started realizing it, these are all called Adhama Kavyams, the lowest level of poetry. So just imagine if this is the lowest level, what the Uttama Shrestha Kavyams will be. That will be amazing, right? And Kalidasa and Maka and several poets have written such kind of poetry. And this is just amazing. And I also want to quote one example here of how Sanskrit is used in speech therapy.
Okay.
So I follow Dr. Sampadananda Mishra.
Okay.
And I've read some of his books. Dr. Sampadananda Mishra from the Aurobindo Foundation Pondicherry, and now he is the director of Center of Humanities at the Rishi Huda University in Haryana. So Dr. Sampadananda Mishra, in one of his, he actually does speech therapy. So as I said before, the entire speech system is completely scientific.
Right.
So you need, even if you have a problem with a part of your mouth system, you can actually speak Sanskrit if you're very good in the language. Like pa, pa, ba, bha, ma is an oshtavya. It means you need lips. So somebody who's got a lip damage, who cannot move his lips, if he knows, I told you about the synonym strength that Sanskritam has, you can use all the other ones, which means the kantavya, the talavya, murthanya, and the dantavya, and you can completely. So there is a textbook wherein Shurpanaka gets her nose cut off by Lakshmana, and she doesn't have the nose.
Right.
The entire text from that point onwards does not use the nasal and the oronasal alphabets,
Wow.
which means ng, ñ, n, because you need both your nose and your mouth to work for the last letter in each of the alphabet line. So the complete text is devoid of those letters in the part of Shurpanaka's speech. I was also reading that a very famous poet, I can't recollect his name, he read the Ramayana and then he realized that the word Ram itself, which means ma, is a sound which is a oshtavya sound. So you need to move your lips. And when you constantly read the Ramayana, you will keep moving your lips, which is not good because you will, the part of your saliva will actually come onto the textbook. So what he did was, he completely, I think it's called a Niroshta Ramayana. So there is no single Oshtavya consonant in that Ramayana textbook. So Rama is not even called Rama, and that's called Raghupati Nandana. So Raghupati Nandana does not have an Oshtavya sound. So he completely rewrote the Ramayana so that there is no single Oshtavya consonant in that. So that's the magic of this language. And Dr. Sampadananda Mishra also talks about how he does speech therapy for children. So there are certain children at a very young age who have cleft lip or cleft palate, and their entire facial system has got. If it's an organic problem, you will need to actually go into a surgery. But then post-surgery and the pre-surgery, you need to do some test to figure out what exactly you need to do in the surgery, and you need to do the post-surgery, you will need to correct the speech. So what he has done is, he gives certain shlokas to children. So certain children cannot say Coca-Cola, they can't say.
Okay.
Because their ka part of it doesn't work.
Okay.
So they say Totatola. They can't say Kaka, they say Tata. So what he has done is try to figure out, they cannot say Ka independently, but they can say Ta plus Ta, Ta plus Ka. So he gave a complete list of those words which Ta comes first and Ka comes next. And then the kid is able to see that. And then slowly starts giving the kid the next level of exercise. And one such exercise he has given is a poem which is called only the Ka and the sound, with the Kavarga sound and the Avarga Swara sound. So it is actually Aga Gang Ka 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 Ga Ka 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 Kaha. Okay, so this has got only H and K and A. So you can, so it is to give strength to this part of your facial, your throat system. So it is Aga Gang Ga Aga Gang Gang Ka 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 Ga Ka 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 Ka. So you don't need to use the dental sound, the Dantavya and the Oshtavya sounds. So through this you can actually do speech therapy. And what they normally do is the International Phonetic Alphabet System, IPA System, is what is normally used post-speech therapy by doctors. But it is actually complete. IPA System is what you see in dictionaries, all the pronunciation of the English words. But it is actually not logical at all. This system is exactly, you can figure out where exactly in the mouth the problem is, and then you can just work on that and then try to train that part of the complete system. So that's the beauty of Sanskritam.
This podcast really...
Yeah, it has got, I would say, curative medicinal effects. And that's why I would call it the language of the gods.
Right. This podcast is going really magical by summarizing. I mean, this is something which nobody can think of. How this is actually what you call scientific language.
And I haven't even scratched the surface. I'm just a student of the last 4 years. This is just the beginning of the journey is what I would call it.
And that is the reason you said that the words come out of Sanskrit only, not from some other language, because people, whoever has developed this language, they took care of of the pronunciations and in which part of the mouth the speaking
Absolutely.
gets affected, and to give synonyms for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a
Wow.
divine language.
Right.
And it is timeless. It is so modern. You can even coin words today based on the property of the object, not the object itself.
So are the speech therapists using it for therapies? Do they use?
The awareness has started.
Okay.
And there's a lot of work happening on the Indian knowledge systems. The awareness is starting in our country. So definitely a lot of them are actually starting to adopt this.
This is brilliant.
Yeah, there is Dr. B.M. Hegde, who was the principal of the Kasturba Medical College in Mangalore. He's 80 plus right now.
Okay.
He's somebody who believes in the holistic system of medicine, which means both Ayurveda,
Right.
naturopathy, allopathy, surgical systems, everything mixed together. So he himself has a problem. He had a paralysis, and then he used Vishnu Sahasranama, Lalita Sahasranama, the Vedas and Upanishads in his own therapy by his students, who he has got students all across the globe. So he used this for himself to get back his speech back. So there is a living example of Dr. Hegde himself, and he has gone on YouTube and to talk about how our own native mother language has helped him to get his speech capability back to normal at the age of 80 plus.